Hello everyone, I'm Junhil Fabular. My topic is about internal rate of return and payback period as instruments in selecting and evaluating investment proposals. Our goal here is to define internal rate of return and payback period, apply them using sample problems, and discuss some of its advantages and disadvantages.
Capital budgeting is the process of planning for purchases of assets whose returns are expected to continue beyond 1 year. Example of assets whose returns are expected to continue beyond 1 year are land, building, and machineries. So cash outlay that is expected to generate flow of future cash benefits longer than 1 year is called capital expenditure. So in short, capital budgeting is the planning of capital expenditures. The importance of capital budgeting. First, the involvement of heavy fund. Capital budgeting decisions require large capital outlays. It is therefore absolutely necessary that the firm should carefully plan that they are put to most profitable use. Second, long-term implication. The effect of capital budgeting decision will be felt by the firm over a long period, and therefore they have decisive influence on the rate and direction of the growth of the firm. Third, irreversible decision. In most cases, capital budgeting decisions are irreversible. This is because it is very difficult to find a market for the capital assets. The only alternative will be to scrap the capital assets so purchased or sell them at a substantial loss in the event of the decision being proved wrong.
Internal rate of return is the discount rate that equates the present value of net cash flows from a project with the present value of the net investment. So this involves familiarization of this formula. NCF, which is the net cash flow, times the present value of an annuity factor is equal to the net investment. Sample problem on internal rate of return. So the figures are taken from our book, Contemporary Financial Management, 10th edition. So to illustrate internal rate of return calculations, suppose A Slumber is considering two projects, A and B, having net investments and net cash flows as shown below. So to familiarize the problem, let's observe that project A has a uniform cash flows of 12,500, while project B has uneven cash flows. Both projects have net investment of $50,000 and the cash flow is for 6 years. To solve for the IRR, let's start with a formula. Net cash flow, NCF, times the present value of an annuity factor. R is the rate, in this case internal rate of return, and N is the number of period equal to net investment. The net cash flow is 12,500. For the present value of annuity factor, the R is missing, while the N is the 6 years. Because project A is an annuity, its internal rate of return may be computed directly with the aid of a present value of an annuity factor table. Referring to table 4 and reading across the table, for n is equal to 6, it can be seen that the interest factor of 4 occurs near 13%, where it is 3.998. Thus, the internal rate of return for project A is about 13%. The internal rate of return can also be calculated using a financial calculator or a spreadsheet.
So the internal rate of return can also be solved using Excel. So kung matanaw mo sa libro, lahi ang pagka-arrange. But I prefer to arrange the details this way para dali na ho i-explain. So to solve for the IRR, atong i-type ang formula. Type equals IRR, open parenthesis, mo click ka sa cell kung asa ang imong net investment, which in this case is B5. Then imong i-drag kutob sa cell sa last na cash flow, which in this case is B11. Then close parenthesis, hit enter, then magawas na ang IRR nga 13%. So pwede rin nga formula gamiton pwede mo sa project B. Again, is equal to IRR, open parenthesis, click ka sa 50,000, drag until sa pinakalas nga cell sa cash flow, which is in this case is C11, close parenthesis, hit enter, magawas na ang IRR. So you can also use kining nga button, kining increase decimal, para makita na to ang more decimal places para mas accurate. Sige, let's try. Click twice, magawas na nga from 13% nahimo siya diyang 12.98%. Then nahimo na pong project B nga 18.19%. So kung tan-aw mo sa book, mao ni sila ang figure nga inyong makit-an didto. Now that we know how to solve IRR using the present value of an annuity factor table or using Excel, unsa man di ay gamit sa IRR? Unsa iyang relevant sa decision making? The decision rule is this: accept the project when the IRR is greater than or equal to the firm's cost of capital, discount rate, or hurdle rate. The concept is this: any return greater than the hurdle rate tells us that the project or company earns more than what investors want as compensation. In short, IRR nga higher sa cost of capital mas maadyo. Reject the project if the IRR is less than the firm's cost of capital. So sa project A, atong makit-an nga ang iyang IRR is 12.98%, while ang project B is 18.19%. Kung atong tan-awon, ang IRR sa project A lower jud sa discount rate nga 14%. So dapat ang atong pilion is ang project B. So what if the cost of capital is 10%? So kung atong tan-awon, si project A 12.98% higher kaysa cost of capital. Si project B higher pud sa cost of capital. So para maka-decide ta kung asa ang project nga pilion, atong tan-awon whether project A and project B are mutually exclusive project or independent project. So when we say mutually exclusive project, the projects are performing the same function. Thus, usa ra jud ang atong pilion. So kung si project A o project B performing the same function, atong pilion si project B, since mas dako siya og IRR compared ni project A. Pero kung si project A o project B independent project, meaning performing different functions, and if the company has adequate funds to invest in the two projects, so pwede ra na si project A o si project B ipadadyon sa company. One of the advantages of IRR is that it takes into account both the magnitude and the timing of cash flows over the entire life of a project in measuring the project's economic desirability. However, using IRR also has potential problems, and one of which is the possible existence of multiple internal rates of return.
Another tool being used in evaluating investment proposal is payback period. So payback period is defined as the period of time required for the cumulative cash inflows, net cash flows from a project to equal the initial cash outlay of the net investment. So in short, payback period tells us how soon we can recover the initial investment we make in a project. So if the expected net cash inflows are equal each year, then the payback period is equal to the ratio of the net investment to the annual net cash inflows of the project. So in formula, payback period is equal to net investment divided by the annual net cash inflow.
Payback period sample problem. So for project A, let's observe that it has a uniform cash inflow of 12,500. So solving payback period it will be net investment divided by annual cash inflow. So the net investment is 50,000 while the annual cash inflow is 12,500. Thus, the payback period is 4 years. So pasabot nga ni, it will take 4 years para ma-recover nimo ang imong net investment nga 50,000. Para sa project B, let's observe nga ang cash inflow is dili uniform. So kung inga na ang situation, the approach should be different. So the payback period is equal to number of years before full recovery of net investment plus the unrecovered initial investment at start of year divided by cash inflow during year. So kung atong tan-awon ang cumulative cash inflow para sa project B, at year 4, 45,000 sila. At year 5, 70,000. So meaning, ang atong net investment ma-recover siya between 4th year and 5th year. So the number of years before full recovery of net investment is 4 years. Plus, the unrecovered initial investment 50,000 ang ato net investment. Ang cumulative cash inflow as of the 4th year is 45,000. Ang unrecovered portion is 5,000. 50,000 minus 45,000 divided by 25,000. 25,000 tungod kay ang unrecovered portion nga 5,000 anhiman ma-derive. So the payback period is 4.2 years. Meaning, it will take 4.2 years para ma-recover nimo ang imong net investment nga 50,000 pesos. So, kining B is discounted payback period. So, ang kining discounted payback period hing-occur tungod sa first criticism sa undiscounted payback period. Ang inyang disadvantage is it ignores time value of money. Maong hinggawas na yung discounted payback. So, para sa Project A, using discounted payback period, ang answer is undefined. Tungod kay, kung atong tan-awon ang cumulative cash inflow, 48,600 ra. Ang net investment is 50,000. Pasabot, wa na-recover ang 50,000 nga net investment. Para sa Project B, discounted payback period, ang approach niya is pari-pariha ra sa Project B nga undiscounted. Exact laman nga atong kuhaon ang present value sa mga cash inflow. So this involves pag-derive sa present value factor. So para sa year 1, basin matinga mo nga ng 5,000 nahimo 4,385 tungod kay atong gikuha ang present value factor at year 1. So ang formula is 1 over 1 plus I to the power of n. So, para sa year 1, 1 over 1 plus 0.14 to the power of 1, magawas ang 0.877, i-times ni mo og 5,000, diha na derive ang 4,385. So, para sa year 2, 1 over 1 plus 0.14 to the power of 2 is equal to 0.769 times 10,000, diha mo gawas ang 7,690. So again, number of years before full recovery of net investment is 5. Kaya ang 6 years, 57,000 sobra na. So, ang payback period is in between the 5th year and 6th year. So, unrecovered initial investment at start of year is 50,000 minus 44,055 divided by 13,680. So, the payback period is 5.43 years. Disadvantages of payback period. First, the undiscounted payback period ignores the time value of money. Second, the discounted and undiscounted payback period ignores cash flows occurring after the payback period. Third, it has no objective criterion for decision making that is consistent with shareholders' wealth maximization. So unlike sa IRR, nga kung mas taas ang IRR sa cost of capital, accept the project. Pero dinhi sa payback period, way ingana. The decision is purely subjective. Depende ra sa preference sa firm.
That's it for my presentation of payback period and IRR. I hope we learned something. Thank you for watching.